afternoon, pedal nerds and nerdines and nerdillas and nerdezzles, whatever you are. Well, I am so sorry. You need a shitload of coffee for this. Because I promised myself I would do the full-on Trio Plus review. Not sit there and play it and say, hey, this is cool. Show you all functions, talk about ins and outs and pros and cons. And yeah, pretty much everything. Which means this is going to be a long one. That's what he said, if you know what I mean. I sincerely apologize to the ladies watching. I've heard that some guys make their ladies watch these videos. I first of all apologize to all women who are forced into watching the German pedal nerd talk about pedals and make very inappropriate jokes about penises. I don't know. And wear these really weird sweaters. Actually, tomorrow, I'm thinking I'm going to contact the sweater company and say, hey, what if I put a logo in there once in a while? Can I get some free sweaters? Let's see if a pedal nerd on YouTube can get free clothing. Hey, doesn't hurt to ask. So we're going to talk about step number 1, which is how to connect your Trio. There's a lot of options, and some of them are better, some of them are not so good. So before we get into how to use it and does it sound good and all that stuff, the Trio has a guitar input. Well, that's where your guitar goes, maybe. It has an amp out. That's what goes to your amp, maybe. And it has a mixer out. It also has built-in guitar effects, which are dependent on the style. So if you're on the metal style, you can see this guitar effects button in the corner. When it's not lit, there are no guitar effects, and guitar effects pretty much means distortion. So you click once, it's green, then you have like a rhythm sound, not so much distortion, and green means a lead sound. But that is always dependent on the style. So in country, you don't have the screaming lead sound. In metal, you do. And we're going to look at that. So, but how do you hear these? Well, they're obviously a digital emulation. That's okay. Depending on, this is really cool, this thing is really clever. Depending on which outputs are plugged in, ins and outs are plugged in, it's going to do different things. So let's go through this. If you are only using the amp output, meaning you have the Trio in front of your amp, okay? Then everything, the guitar loop that you're recording, did I say it can record guitar loops? Well, let me go back a bit. This is a lot better than the first Trio. I loved the idea of the first Trio. Give me a band, recognize the chords, and give me an accompaniment based on the band-in-a-box software, which is really killer. I've been using this. I used it in 1995, which is when some of you were not alive. So I've always been a fan of band-in-a-box. But anyway, the idea was great, but it was clearly missing a looper. Now they've added the guitar looper so you can actually have a real Trio and then play as number 4 to that Trio. But they've added a lot more really, really cool functions. It's still not perfect, but then again, to have everything that I would want this to have, it would probably be I don't know, $1,000 piece of gear. So we're going to talk about what I would like to see, but anyway. So we have the guitar loop, we have the bass and the drums. Obviously, bass and drums would be nice to go to a full range speaker, meaning with low, mids, and highs, so a tweeter in it, which your guitar speaker is not. Your guitar speaker in your amp is probably a 12 or 10 inch. I'm sorry, I'm distracting myself. 10 or 12 inch, and there's no high end. So the drums and the bass won't sound the way they're supposed to. Well, if you're only using the amp output, so nothing's plugged into the mixer input, it is going to EQ that bass and drums so that it sounds decent through your guitar speaker. So we're going to check this out. If you don't have anything plugged into the amp output and only use the mixer output, it is actually going to apply a speaker simulation to your guitar signal. So the guitar signal coming in, the signal created inside the Trio is going to go through speaker simulation, which is cool. If you have plugged in something in the back here, which you can't see, which is a little headphone jack, sadly only a little one, right there. Then it is going to apply speaker simulation to the guitar signals and give out the rest in stereo in, what is it called? In, you know, with high frequencies and everything. So it is going to tailor the EQ based on what you have plugged in. That is very cool. We're gonna check it out, what it sounds like used with headphones. That's what I have this cable for. It has a control input for a 3-button foot switch or 2-button foot switch. I don't quite know. I don't have it. To switch back and forth between the parts. That's really not necessary anymore. I'm sorry, Digitech. It's nice, you know. Sell it. Go right ahead. But with the sequence function, that it's just so freaking cool. With the sequence function, you can build your parts and then make your own song. What I love about this thing is I can control it without having it in front of my feet, which I love when a looper can do. It's how could a looper do this? You always have to define start and end. Well, with this, the length of the part defines the loop start and end. And I'm going to show you, you can actually operate it on the table right in front of you. That is way cool. So it also has a FX send and FX return. So in addition to the two sounds that are inside, combined with the speaker simulation that it has, which we're going to check out, you can plug in your favorite, let's say, overdrive and delay, and play it with the speaker simulation. So you can already see, without me showing you how to operate it, just the setup options are insane! I love it, but I wish I had never gotten it, because now I have to do this! What the fuck? I want to thank Hans-Peter Wilfer and Warwick for sending this to me. They're the German distributor for Digitech, and they were very nice to send me one before pretty much, no, a lot of other people got it. The first one they had available, I got in my hands, and thanks. They're great people, seriously. Okay. My setup here is Hughes and Kettner Deluxe 20. Right now, I have just normally with my guitar, I'm going into a simple overdrive by Mad Professor because I got it here. Then that's going into the Deluxe 20, that's it. On the ground, I have my foot switch for the Deluxe 20. So if we switch to the other camera, I don't know how many I've got running, too many. You can see that on the Deluxe 20, the lights go back and forth, so I can fully control the amp. And I have access to these sounds because I have in the effects loop of that amp, first of all, the Strymon Brigadier, so that I can get some nice delays, and everything that I create in that amp, in the preamp and in that delay, will run into the Trio. Therefore, I can record it into the loop. Remember, if you put the Trio in front of your amp, like a normal pedal, anything you put in that loop will go through your amp. That means once your amp goes into distortion, if you wanted that, not working, your whole loop will be distorted. Maybe even if you're not using a mixer, your drums and bass will be distorted. So thinking about the setup is quite important. So what I have, again, going into the Deluxe 20, and in the loop, I've got the Strymon Brigadier delay and the Trio behind it. So the Trio is then going out of the amp out directly back into the power amp. So all my guitar sounds are running through the amp into a real speaker in the basement, 112 Fender Cap, mic with a Sennheiser E609. Sennheiser! I don't know. Sennheiser? I don't know how you do a Sennheiser. That's being mic'd, going into the Apollo, that's it. The mixer out, which is bass and drums, are going straight into my Apollo in mono, which is kind of, that's a bummer for me because that mixer out is mono. So in that setup, I can fully use my amp with distortion and everything I do in my preamp, if I switch to overdrive, whatever, will be recorded in the loop, but the loop is going straight into the power amp and being amplified. So that is, for me, the most flexible setup. And that's the setup we're going to check. And I'm going to show you everything with that setup. Another setup, before we go into details, is this. If you don't have a mixer, I mean, how many of us really in our practice room or at home in our corner, the little corner that your wife gave you, you know, just where the plants are off behind the kitchen, or even in the basement next to the heating room? You know what I'm talking about. Well, right there, sorry, I amuse myself. I'm pretty tired, sorry. So, what you can do is maybe you have an acoustic amp. I have this tiny little Joyo AC20, relatively inexpensive acoustic amp, but that is full range. That has a tweeter in it, because acoustic guitars need that high end. So, what you can do is plug that mixer out into that acoustic amp, have the drums and bass going through that acoustic amp, and then play normally 3 guitar amp out of the amp out. And you put this in front of your guitar amp with an overdrive in front of it, and that would sound and look something like this. So that is an option you have. If you don't have the mixer, if you don't have everything, obviously headphones are an option, and putting it in front of your amp are an option. Are an option? No. So we're gonna go through the functions, and then after we've looked at this setup, we're gonna go into the setup in front of the amp and using the headphone out. Then also what I want to check out is, once I've recorded it, okay, what can I do to the drums? Because they sound very direct. The samples are okay. I mean, obviously there aren't 4 gigabytes of drum samples in there. So can I do something to make them a little bit stereo? Can I do something to make them a little bit more lively? And I want to try to send that track that is recording drum and bass through my Universal Audio Ocean Way plugin to give it some room and see what I can do with it. So that's something we're going to try once I've recorded something, okay? I hope you understood the setup. It's quite complicated. So this Trio Plus has 12 songs, and that is awesome. 12 songs, each containing 5 parts that you can put in a sequence. Now, just to show you, I will access the songs by pushing the song button, and then whatever is red already has a song in it. So you can see how many parts are stored there. Here we have my twinkly jangly part. I tracked that. That's kind of neat. So here's some metal, I think. that's silly. So you can see their songs. So we're going to go to an empty song. Let's do number 10. So it's empty. By the way, before I forget it, I'm thinking about it 5 times. In the side here, on the side, there's a micro SD card. And it comes with an 8 gig SD card. That is freaking awesome. And everything that you do immediately, well, wait 5 seconds, it says in the manual, immediately is saved onto that SD card. So all your songs, all your parts, everything, ready to go and dump into your sequencing program and then work with it there. I haven't checked out the files. I don't know if they're separate drum-based loop files or if it's just a stereo loop or whatever it is. Sadly, you cannot just put the card in your computer and work with it. That would have been so nice. I tried that. No, you need the Digitech Trio managing software. But hey, so you download the software and then put the card in, can access all the files. That is nice. You can do the same thing with the USB port. So that is absolutely insane. Very, very cool. And it comes with 8 gig, which for audio is more than you will ever need. We want to teach the trio a song. And we're going to go, I'm going to say rock, okay? So I'm on part 1, as you can see. You can pick which part you want, but obviously it's empty, so we want part 1. And really all I do is I arm it. I actually don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do A minor is kind of boring. Let's do C minor. Let's just stay in C minor. Come on. I'm just gonna, I don't know. Yeah, let's try that. So I'm gonna arm it, and then it's gonna start blinking fast. And as soon as I start playing, it is ready to accept whatever I feed it. Yeah, I was stupid. I had the delay on, so it actually was thinking there was an A flat when there wasn't. So, what do? I hold in band when it's stopped and it's erased. And I try again. Sometimes you gotta try again. So now I'm gonna, it already suggested a speed and a style for me. I'm gonna see if I find something that's more to my liking, even though that already kind of sounded cool. So what you do is, it suggests and calculates a couple of different arrangements on the style knob. Okay, so I'm gonna twist them around. The orange ones will be triplets, so that'll be a shuffle, which, why not? I didn't play it like this, but hey, maybe we build it on a shuffle. So if I want a double or a half time, I can use the Alt time button. Depending on the speed, it will give you half time or maybe double time. Let's see what it does. So let's say I want this. I'm gonna do a shuffle, and now I'm just gonna play simple chords, clean, with of course a little bit delay, which I'm tapping. I want something and I want it nice. Okay, and so what I'm doing now is I'll start it, hit the loop, and once it comes around, it'll automatically, that's a cool thing, start recording the loop. while it's playing, if you push the loop again, it will go into overdub. If you don't like this, just hit the loop button for 2 seconds and it will erase the overdub. Always the last one. Pretty straightforward looper operation. So let's do this. But I'm gonna go onto the distorted channel on my Hughes and Kettner. Just give it some pad. And there's your loop. Now, obviously, you can still work on the levels, and you can also just noodle over it. Let's try that. Remember that all the guitars are still going into my amp's power amp. So obviously now I want the second part. The cool thing is you can just go and pick any style, do anything you want and start over. But what if you want the same tempo? Which will be cool because it's the same freaking song. So what you do is you hold in the second part for 2 seconds. No, you don't. You select it and then you hold it in for 2 seconds. And it gives you a click. The sad part is, once you start tracking, the click is gone. So then it's, you know, your internal tempo, I think. So, we're gonna try this off. Let's do that. That sounds really good. that took a while, but that works for me. Now, obviously, you can go on, add more parts, and you can now go and put them in a sequence, which is actually really simple. You click the sequence button, and now you push the buttons in the order that you want, numerous times for some. So let's go part number 1, 1, 2. We're gonna pick 1, 2, and then part number 1 again, so we're gonna play through that. I hit sequence, and it's going to show you by flickering lights what the sequence was that you picked. You can, if you don't remember, do that again. Turn sequence on. You can erase the sequence by holding the button in. Pretty simple. So we're gonna go ahead and noodle over what I just did. Okay, granted, that was pretty horrible. So what you can do is obviously change the styles at any given point in time. Let's try this. I'm going to turn the sequence off again. Now here you can hear the bass going doom to doom, doing like a Wechselbass, as we call it in German. You know, going 1-5, 1-5. Maybe you don't want that. Maybe sometimes the bass is a little bit too complicated for you. We have this simplify bass button. 2 settings: root but with a rhythm, and then just on the one. Check this out. bass parts are pretty damn cool when they're busy, so I like them unless they really get in the way. Let's go see what the folk thing can do. There's pretty much something there for everybody. Way cool. Now I'm gonna go to part 3, gonna go to Latin. Obviously if you go to folk, you record a part. Let's try this just for fun. Simple accompaniment. You get the point. Let's try this. I don't know how to play Latin stuff, but I'm gonna try. Now that works nice. So of course the last test, we gotta do this, we go to jazz. Hey. One of the things I know, autumn leaves, that's what everyone knows. I'm gonna, not do the complicated bass line. jazz. So there you go. This is what you can do. Awesome, huh? This is all now, of course, in my song number 10. And I could go and do a sequence with that, which of course would be extremely stupid because they're all different styles, but I can do that. They're also not tempo synced except for the first two. Here we go. Remember those an hour ago? Here's the awesome thing. What if you want to change the tempo? Well, obviously with MIDI, that's easy. This thing does MIDI. It doesn't have a MIDI in out, but what it does internally, it generates the bass and the drums with MIDI protocols. Changing the tempo there is very simple. And I'm going to show you how it does that. Did you notice something there? It's totally awesome. Once you change the tempo, at a slower tempo, the exact same MIDI part would sound really boring. So at a slower tempo, it adjusts what it plays. It adjusts the arrangement to work well at that tempo, which is really cool. Let's check that out again. Busier bass drum. So you can, of course, if you go to fast tempo, go to halftime, everything's possible. But what about the audio? It freaking time stretches and it does it well. Check this shit out. Of course, once you record a new part, make sure you're in the middle. Here we go. That's completely insane. That is so freaking cool. It does it for the whole song. So all 5 parts follow the settings of the tempo. And it does it extremely well. It just, I mean, if you're in metal and you go slower, it actually puts in more bass drums. Because we need more bass drums. Metal! Bass drums. We've talked about the simple bass line. We've talked about the tempo. We've talked about, the internal guitar effects. Now, we come back to how to use it and how to set it up. I am using, when I'm teaching, obviously this is an insane teaching tool. You kind of set up a song the way you like it and the way you want to play, but then you find out, I made that for my speed, not for my student's speed. You go down, your whole song slows down, and within the lesson you can slowly speed it up. That is just freaking insane. So, let's go internal guitar effects. So pretty much what we're doing now, I'm going to go in with the clean sound from the preamp of my Deluxe 20, Hughes and Kettner, and I'm gonna just use the built-in guitar effects to see how they distort behind the preamp, which is really not how it's designed to work. But let's check this out. We're gonna go to my... Oh, I haven't shown you this, sorry. Each of the parts can have 2 different arrangements. They're calling it a fuller arrangement. The problem is that fuller means ride, usually, ride. And ride. And because it's on the ride, that's why it's called a ride. And this, oh God, that's a lame ass joke. But the ride is very thin. it sounds, it doesn't get fuller, it actually gets thinner than with the hi-hat. But let's check it out. Of course, in this case, it's a simple, goddammit, that's how I wanted to show. Yeah, it's not doing what I wanted to show you. But anyway, there's two different options for each part, as indicated by the redness of the button. The redidity. We've talked about the alternate time, drum space, we've covered everything. So we're gonna go to rock, and let's go to blues. So here's my clean signal, directly from the preamp. I'm gonna click it once, and we should have... You can hear a little bit of a room, and you can hear a little bit of a fizzle in the sound. And red. They're not insane, but they're okay for practicing. Let's go to R&B. Nothing. But obviously, if you're using your amp, you don't need these. So what we're going to do is, we're going to check it out plugged in front of the amp, going, well, in front of the amp, which is a setup I'm going to do now. So I've taken everything out. I've taken everything out of the effects loop, and right now the only effect we have is the trio in front of the amp. And it knows that. It knows that because all the other cables have been unplugged, and so we're going straight into the amp. Now let's check out what drums and bass sound like through a guitar amp and guitar speaker, but frequency corrected for just that purpose. So obviously now, if I wanted distortion or anything, or effects, I would have to put them in front of it. So my cymbal and my strumming would have to be in front of the trio, because if I change the amp to distortion, well, it's gonna sound like this. Clearly that doesn't work. Was there? It actually now put, did you hear that? It now put a little bit of reverb on the drums, which it didn't do out of the mixer out. I found here that actually works rather nicely. I'm impressed. I have a Fender G-Deck when I teach, which is great. So imagine G-Deck, imagine Fender Mustang, and it is fighting with that. It really doesn't want it, because there's just compression happening. As soon as you do this, you play guitar, your guitar doesn't come through, so it can't really handle that. So how do you do it on the G-Deck? Well, the G-Deck has an aux in, which is great, because that pretty much takes like iPod or whatever signal, and you can do that. The only problem with that is you will have to have a 1/4 inch to mini whatever something plug, and since the 1/4 inch output on this is mono, you're gonna have to find some kind of cable that goes from a mono 1/4 inch and converts it into a stereo. Well, actually on the Mustang, because it's a mono amp, it might not be an issue, because it just takes either the right or the left and then uses that. So you could just use a mono, actually stereo cable, just use a stereo cable. That should work. It should work fine. So I don't know how it works on the Mustang when you go into the aux input on the G deck. That worked okay. Let's put it that way. Now, obviously, the way to do it is going out of the headphone out. The problem is then you can't use your guitar input and guitar through into the front of the Mustang or G deck or whatever amp you're using, Vox, Valve State, something. Valve State, no, that's Marshall. I don't know. Because once you plug this into the back of the Trio, amp and mixer out will be muted completely. So nothing's coming out, okay? So we've shown in front of the amp, we've shown this. So this is what's left. Actually, wait. Let's see the built-in effects. But again, going through real amp. So let's go and check alt rock. Yeah, it's better than nothing, let's put it this way. Little bit of room simulation going on, really not bad. Yes, and then we go and we plug it in. Yes, I'll be right there. We're going to plug it in with the headphone out and see what that sounds like. But now that actually sounds really nice. And now the built-in loop, okay? This loop that we had played before, which is now not going to the power amp of my amp anymore, because the mixer and amp outs have been disabled. So all you're hearing now is the headphone out, and the guitar that's coming out of the loop is going through the built-in speaker simulation. It's that clever. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So let's do this again. It's not insanely good, but hey, for practice purposes, nice. So that's just the guitar going straight out of the headphones, which of course doesn't sound great because there's nothing on it. So we're gonna use the sound green sound. Yeah, a little bit of room simulation there, really not horrible. So let's check out some of those sounds. Blues, green. A little bit too muah for me. Blues is too dull. Rock a little bit dull, huh? Yeah, that's a little bit. And obviously there's no way to do anything to these sounds. I mean, level, whatever, that's just what they are. Now metal are actually kind of nice. No, they actually sounded a lot better when we were going through the amp, didn't they? That wasn't metal. I mean, it was alt rock. I'm sorry. High gain hip hop, and why not? Nice slap back there. I don't know. Okay, so that's that. There's one thing left, which is we're gonna wire in external effects, which means we're going to, let me see how I do this. Send. Here I can do this. I'm going to send to my symbol drive. No, that's not how I'm sending to it. This is how I'm doing this. I'm going to loop in my symbol. And my delay. Now I don't know if that is in front of the internal sounds or behind. I have no idea. I guess we're gonna find out. So, testing the internal effects loop. Well, the delay's working fine. Let's go to... Obviously, as always, you gotta play with the levels a bit. R&B was nice, wasn't it? Let's see if the distortion or the overdrive actually works. And now you have a volume knob, which is nice. Let's switch songs here. Let's go to one of my songs. Here we go. And we're just gonna play that. yes, the internal effects loop works. If you want to play with those effects in the headphone out, it works. It's not insane. I mean, obviously, you can't expect for that money all this plus a speaker simulation that's gonna, blow your mind. But it does work. Now, the thing is, it has its own power supply, and it eats up 800 milliamps. It wants quite a bit of power, which means, what are you gonna do? You could get a Chuck's Pussy Power, take the 400 9-volt outs with a flex cable and combine them. There are, of course, like the Yankee power supplies. There are power supplies that give you 800. This is not necessarily a pedal board box. It's not a thing that is going to land on your pedal board, so you don't really have to think about how to power it with a pedal board power supply. But what about you in the tour bus? Because we're all, are on tour buses. This is probably cold by now. So let's say you are on the tour bus, or on the bus, or in the back of your mom's car, or wherever you want to play guitar. And you don't have a mains power. So that's a problem. Oh, by the way, the power supply comes with all the plugs for everyone in the world. You just click it on. Cool. So what you can do is, you can get this. The Rockboard LT-XL, it has two 1000 milliamp, two 1 amp outputs, battery powered. It's gonna probably eat through the power supply in, I don't know, I'm gonna guess maybe 2-3 hours, because I would assume I saw the light go down quite fast, because it's gonna drain. It's got 800 milliamps. But with this thing, I could go and plug in, let's try this, my Strymon and the Trio. I could also do the cymbal, but I don't have a breakout cable now. So I'm gonna try this. We're gonna pull this out. Battery power. There you go, it's booting up. Plus my Strymon pedal. There you go. And that way you could actually have, like, I don't know, if you want to make yourself a little suitcase, a little pedal suitcase, put the Trio in there, 1 or 2 pedals, and Power LT-XL. And then on the road, you just open that thing, play, design, arrange, write songs, have a good old time, and you're not dependent on the wall plug that comes with it. Have I forgotten anything? Oh yeah, we want to check out what it sounds like when we're using, when I'm taking the mixer out, which will be mono, but I'm putting it into a plugin in Cubase later on. So I'm gonna do that now. And I'm just going to sit here and you're going to listen to it. I'm going to do that when I'm done and put the waveform underneath, and then you're going to see me sit here and just do nothing. But you can check out what it sounds like, and I'm going to show you the picture of the plugin, and you know what you can do with those files once you use the Trio Plus Manager software to get them off the SD card or directly with USB. So here is what you can do later. Pretty cool, huh? Pretty impressive, huh? I think. I have no idea. I haven't heard it. I'm gonna do it. It's kind of a wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey, I'm going to do it, but you've already heard it. There's time travel stuff involved. It's way over all of our heads. I'm gonna skip to the My 2 cents without saying My 2 cents. My 2 cents is $300, yes, but you're gonna have so much fun. You're gonna be so creative. You can come into your band and just say, look, here's a song. What do you think? Let's arrange it. This is what the trio did. Hey, we want to check this out in halftime. What if the chorus is in halftime? Click. What if the chorus is double? Wait, let me do a new sequence. Click, 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 and then you go. Instead of playing a song in the band over and over and over, where you don't even hear what you're doing because you're concentrating on your newly designed parts and you don't really hear the song, you could work on the song, work on the chords, work on the basic form with the trio, and then have your vocalist work on the vocal lines with you all sitting on the couch going like, oh, dude, no, go, fuck yeah, at that point, you know, or whatever. Or praise the Lord at that point, or whatever you want to do. So you can work on the song, and then when you all decided, yeah, this is cool, we're gonna do the pre-chorus twice, but then all have a 5-minute break in the middle of the song where we go and have a beer and touch some ladies' asses or something, and then we come back and then people will be, you can work on the song, and then actually, once the song is done, start arranging it in the band. Then really work on your parts, but you're not fighting over song form anymore. You're not fighting over lyrics. You're not, you know, this is for a teacher, any teacher, seriously, get this. Awesome. Each of you have to figure out how to hook it up with the gear you have. If you have an acoustic amp, great. If you have a mixer and speakers, great. If you have an amp that's all in one, you have to work with it. If you have like a digital amp, they don't want everything in front of it. You could hear that the tube amp was okay with it. If you have an amp with an effects loop, put it in the effects loop, run the mixer out into the mixer. For me, that's the most pleasing sound. You can use it with a Power LTXL with headphones on the road, so that's cool. Really, a lot of options. Take the SD card out, get the software, load it up into Cubase or in Logic or in GarageBand, wherever you want, and then noodle over that, export it, post it on SoundCloud, Facebook, annoy your friends with your compositions and your noodlings. I think the Trio was a good idea. The Trio Plus is a much better idea. I still wish there were a couple of things like level controls for the guitar through. That would be better. I would like the click to go through. It's great that it gives you the click of the previous track, but once you start playing, you're still on your own. So I would like that to be there. Now the other thing is, obviously I'm bitching about tiny details here, but what if I wanted to sync it to something I'm gonna do later? Let's say I would love to have my tracks to be 120 beats per minute. Now there's no way I can tell it to be exactly 120, which means I could take the tracks later, put them into Cubase, and they would fit perfectly on the grid, and like a puzzle, I go chorus, verse, chorus, whatever. And there's no way to do this. Obviously, a little display where you can punch in a beats per minute would be killer. Tab is not precise. A little display where you dial in the perfect beats per minute, or maybe you play, and once you start playing, it tells you the beats per minute. Also cool. But obviously more expensive. Another way to do this would be MIDI clock. Now for that, it would need a MIDI in, but then I could send MIDI clock from my sequencer to the Trio, and the Trio would sync to the sequencer, so therefore I can later take my individual parts off the SD card and drop them in perfectly on the grid. And what I have to do now is I have to figure out what the speed was that I recorded it at and do some time stretching, which is okay, I can do that. And then it fits perfectly on my grid. But I would like the sync function to external devices to be there a little bit more. Sometimes, obviously, you have to figure out what to play. You have to figure out what does it want. I tried only bass notes, which it wasn't super happy with. It wants chords to be more certain of what to do, but what complexity you give it to teach the song, that's still something you have to figure out. It reacts, I think it changes chords only based on quarter notes. So if you have an 8th note upbeat, I don't think it's doing that. Definitely no 16th notes grid. So the grid that it works on, I think, is at the most quarter notes. So if you want to do like, you know, an Iron Maiden thing where everything is offbeats, the bass will be changing on the next downbeat. As far as I figured out, I've played with it for a week now. Please correct me if I'm wrong. It is a truly, truly great product, I think. And I can't believe that I have one now. I'm gonna have so much fun with that. For some pedal demos, I might just, take the easy way out, and instead of doing the full production, I'm just gonna noodle like some melody so you can hear the lead sound qualities of the pedal that I'm testing. And I might just create a track with the Trio because it's a quick and easy thing. So sometimes, if something has to be done quickly, you're gonna hear the Trio in my demos. I don't know, this was probably 7 hours long. If you stuck around this long, I think you know what to do now. Oh, I forgot. To erase a song, hold 2 seconds. Actually, the little quick manual that's included, it's really cool. Pretty much anything you want to erase, hold for 2 seconds. Erased. It takes you a good 5 to 10 minutes. Go through that quick manual that's just a fold-out page. Go through it. You've mastered it. Pretty much everything you need to know. So, thanks Warwick. Thanks Digitech. Awesome product. Love it. Leave comments below. And remember die Zilzarre. Where's my... Remember die Zilzarre? Die Zilzarre. Comment. Show me the love. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to go through a million comments again. Show me that you've been here on a regular basis and you're a nutso who loves me. Or bitch about stuff. Or whatever. Or call the sweater gay. Which is, okay. And then, you might win a Die Zilzarre. After Musikmesse. I'm too busy before that. Have a good one.